Hi everyone, I hope all is well with you. I present to you beautiful Trailblazers, Black Women World Record, led by Jen Frank's Ahaghotu. My name is Dr. Dingle-Sermon, and I'm a PhD holder as well as a Doctor of Education degree holder. I share with you these things about myself because in some settings, some people don't see that. In some settings, some people don't acknowledge that. In some settings, other people's names are heard way louder than mine. Too often, we view ourselves in a negative light. Our barometer of our value have been influenced by racism, which have also contributed over the time, over the years, over the centuries, to self-hate within the Black community. Because at times we have tried to conform to an identity that's not in our DNA, such as skin bleaching, hair straightening, changing our natural physical attributes to look more like someone else's. As a result, we've also embraced harmful cultural stereotypes such as Black people are crabs in a barrel, Black people can't work together, Black women can't come together without there being any drama. To hear these things means to forget the work and the efforts of countless Blacks, both known and unknown, alive and transition, that fought and endured the battle against racial inequality, the battle to be accepted as a human being in all societies. Therefore, what needs to be celebrated and made known about our culture is that we already have exceeded a long time ago the limitations of those stereotypes that I just named. If we need any reference or a constant reminder to silence those stereotypes, such as crabs in the barrel, Black people can't work together, and Black women can't come together without drama, I can give you evidence in just 4 words of why all of those stereotypes do not affect the reality of this culture at large. Those 4 words are Black Women World Record. On September 8th, 2023, there was a record set. And this record setting initiative was led by Miss Jen Frank's Ahaghotu, who is a Harvard graduate. September 8th also is the birthday of Mrs. Ruby Bridges, a civil rights activist. And her birthday is significant to this event because she is known for being the first Black child to integrate an all-white public school. And those of us that have seen the movie concerning her, we know that her integrating that school was a scary ordeal. Being a young Black girl met with so much racism. But because of what she did, it became the start of improving education for the Black community, which paved ways for women like me to receive an education. And not just women, but also Black men too. The record that was set was that we have uploaded the most graduation certificates in a 24-hour period, including degrees and diplomas on social media. There was 3,527 women registered. The goal was to make 1 million social impacts. In a 24-hour period, we have exceeded the goal of 1 million impacts and achieved 1.43 million impacts. And as of today, we have achieved 1.75 million impacts and counting. So to anybody that feels that Black people can't come together, that feels that we are crabs in a barrel, that feels that Black women can't come together without drama, I want to encourage you to take more time to study and embrace your culture, especially, if you're within our culture saying that, if you are a Black person and you believe this about yourself. Don't let the experience or the experience of a bad experience with someone that looks like you cause you to believe the worst about your culture. I say this because I can't say that. I can't say that about myself, knowing that I've had plenty of wonderful Black people to support me. And I can't name them all, but there was plenty along my journey. Some alive, some transitioned. I can't forget about the teachers that were Black that believed in me. So saying that Black people don't support each other and don't help each other, it doesn't make sense. I also want it to be known too that it's important that we celebrate this accomplishment and we acknowledge this as a part of Black history, because we are coming together as a people, and I see it. I see it even in our identity. More and more now, I see the generation behind us wearing less relaxers in their hair. I came up in a generation where I had to get the hot comb put in my hair. And then I also had relaxer in my hair for 17 years before I went natural. And to see that more and more of us have went natural is saying something about how we are reclaiming our crown as beautiful Black human beings. And this is important to me as a Black woman, because the hair of any woman is her crown. And to allow people, anybody to disrespect our crown is unacceptable. There was a movie that Jamie Foxx was in, and he made reference to do something with her chia pet. But that same chia pet hair is the hair, if that was her real hair, that was the hair she was born with. So I say this because we seen evidence and we laughed at things like this. And I'm not gonna lie, it was funny at the time when I look at it, but just learning that this is our identity, that coarse hair, that natural hair, what people would call the chia pets, that's our hair. And we have no business disrespecting our crown. So I mention this because to stand up in a space where you're not respected sometimes because of the color of your skin and the way your hair is, it takes lots of courage. And it takes even more courage to reaffirm yourself and to show up just as you are. We, as Black women world record holders, unapologetically stand in the place of solidarity, self-love, honor, and self-respect and worth. Now, if you're wondering if what I said was true about this Black women world record being set, if you are a Facebook or Instagram user, you can go to your search area and type in hashtag Black women world record. And there you're going to see an abundance of photos of Black women holding up their diplomas and certificates. And I want to also say thank you to all of you for viewing this presentation titled Beautiful Trailblazers, Black Women World Record, led by Jen Frank's Ahaghotu.
History, Black leaders have faced a multitude of unique challenges and opportunities in our efforts to amplify our voices and make space for the stories that shape our communities. From the shackles of slavery to the chains of segregation, our journey has been marked by resistance and also remarkable resilience. Despite facing systemic oppression and structural barriers, Black leaders have continuously risen to the occasion, using our voices to challenge the status quo and demand justice for our communities. Despite that progress we've made, the struggle for equity and liberation is far from over. In today's world, we continue to grapple with the lingering effects of centuries of racism, discrimination, and marginalization. Despite some relegating the harm to historical happenings, from police brutality to economic inequality, the challenges facing Black communities are as daunting as ever. However, in the face of these obstacles, we have the opportunity to step up boldly into the pivotal role we play in designing tomorrow's experiences. However, Black people who dare to lead must do so, knowing their determination will be tested. And how do we know? Let us reflect on the struggles of our heroes, like Harriet Tubman, who risked life and limb to lead countless slaves to freedom through the Underground Railroad. Harriet faced not only the physical dangers of her missions, but also the pervasive racism and systemic oppression that sought to silence her and her cause. Despite these obstacles, her unwavering courage and leadership paved the way for future generations to fight for freedom. Similarly, we can't forget the trials faced by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose nonviolent resistance became a beacon of hope in the fight against segregation and discrimination. Dr. King endured countless threats to his life, faced fierce opposition from those who sought to maintain what was happening at that time. And yet he remained steadfast in his commitment to justice, inspiring millions to join him in the struggle for civil rights. And as we know, the challenges faced by Black leaders did not end with the civil rights era. Today, we continue to confront systemic racism, economic inequality, and social injustice that disproportionately affects and impacts Black communities. In the face of these challenges, we must recognize the immense opportunities, though, that exist for Black leaders to effect real and lasting change. What's holding you back? I know, it can be exhausting. Leadership in this movement work is a burden to carry on top of so many others. And I know several factors contribute to why every Black person may not feel equipped to lead in the racial equity movement. The system was designed to disempower you. Historical oppression and systemic racism has systematically undermined our Black communities, creating barriers to accessing education and resources and opportunities for leadership development. Additionally, the pervasive nature of inferiority, perpetuated by society, has led to internalized feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt among some of us. The lack of representation and support within traditional power structures often leaves us feeling marginalized and unsupported, further hindering our confidence and our ability to assert leadership in the movement for racial equity. The good news is today, my brother and my sister, you do not have to do it alone. It is time for us to get into formation, to stand united in our pursuit of justice and liberation. Just as the civil rights leaders of the past organized sit-ins and marches and boycotts to challenge segregation and discrimination, so too must we organize and mobilize to confront the injustices of today. Whether it's through grassroots organizing, political advocacy, community outreach, or just having the courage to speak out individually, we must use every tool at our disposal to amplify our voices and to demand change. Getting into formation is about more than just organizing, though. It's about embodying a spirit of unity and determination that has defined our struggle for centuries. It's about recognizing that our strength lies in our collective power, and that by standing together, we can overcome even the greatest of obstacles. It's about reclaiming our narrative, telling our own stories boldly and unapologetically, and shaping our own destinies. The pathway to leading successfully, assuming our power and position, starts with a willingness to step boldly into our roles as agents of change, to seize opportunity to shape tomorrow for Black people, Black families, and the Black community as a whole. But how do we navigate this path with confidence and boldness? How do we draw upon the lessons of history to inspire and strengthen us in the face of adversity? You have to be willing to be a disruptor. We can look to countless Black leaders who have come before us, from Sojourner Truth to Malcolm X, from Fannie Lou Hamer to Angela Davis, and look at their courage and their unwavering commitment to justice, and let it serve as a guiding light for us all. They remind us that the fight for liberation is not easy. It never has been, never was, and never will be, but it is necessary, and that the road may be long and difficult, but that the destination is certainly worth it. We must remember the sacrifices of our ancestors and the victories they achieved against seemingly insurmountable odds. Their courage and determination serve as a testament to the power of collective action and the ability of ordinary people to effect extraordinary change. We must cultivate a strong sense of community and solidarity among Black leaders, recognizing that our strength will lie in our unity. There's room for all of us to do this work that we're doing. The spirit of competition will divide us, and it is by design that we will be less unified. But by coming together, sharing resources, and supporting one another, we can amplify our voices and magnify our impact on the issues that matter most to our communities. Additionally, we must be strategic and intentional in our advocacy efforts, leveraging our collective power to influence policy, to shape public discourse, and to hold those in positions of power accountable. We must never lose sight of the ultimate goal: to create a world where Black voices are heard, Black lives are valued, and Black communities thrive. This is the legacy we inherit from those who came before us, and it is our responsibility to carry it forward with courage, determination, and unwavering resolve. So let us embrace this call, my call, to get into formation, to stand boldly in our power and position as Black leaders. Let us continue the work of those who came before us, while also blazing new trails and forging new paths. Let us do so with courage and with conviction, standing together, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand. Getting into formation is not just a call to action. It's about recognizing that we are the architects of our own destiny, the drivers of our own liberation. It's about standing tall in the face of adversity, unapologetically owning our identities and refusing to be silenced or sidelined any longer. It means stepping into our full potential, unafraid to challenge the systems of oppression that seek to hold us back. It also means leading with integrity, empathy, and compassion, while also being unafraid to speak truth to power. The challenges facing Black leaders today are great, but so too are the opportunities for meaningful and lasting change. Let this Black History Month embolden you in ways it never has before. The time is now. This moment is ours. Let us seize it with courage, with conviction, and in ways that honor our history and paves the way for generations to come. Happy Black History Month. Let's go.
In 1961, author James Baldwin was asked by a host about being Black in America. He said, "To be Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a state of rage almost all of the time, and in one's work. And part of the rage is, it isn't only what's happening to you, but it's what's happening all around you and all of the time in the face of the most extraordinary and criminal indifference of most white people in this country and their ignorance." Now, since this is so, it's a great temptation to simplify the issue under the illusion that if you simplify them enough, people will recognize them. I think this illusion is very dangerous because, in fact, it isn't the way it works. A complex thing can't be made simple. You simply have to try and deal with it in all its complexity and hope to get that complexity across. Hi, my name is Deborah D. Ford. I am a PhD candidate in general psychology. I am an associate professor in communications and an adjunct in general psychology in the state of Florida. And what we have seen in Florida is something that has incensed me because it is an attack on curriculum that is in the K through 12 system, and it's also an attack on curriculum in the classroom for higher education. And because we recognize that diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are under attack in the workplace and in the classroom, and that there are concerted efforts to erase it from history, it takes courage to bring authenticity into professional spaces. And if we adopt the false colorblind narrative, the next generation will suffer. So here's what I decide. I've decided that I will carry my Black card everywhere I go, and I suggest you do the same. So as an educator on a collegiate level, I have some latitude in what I'm able to bring into the classroom. No, I don't teach African American studies. I don't teach sociology. However, there are components of my discipline where I'm able to introduce my students to things that I know they have no basis for. When we discuss intercultural communication, I'm able to introduce them to voices that are diverse voices that express their situations and their frustrations with being otherized. And so this one particular TED Talk I introduced them to, the speaker spoke about a writer describing lynchings in the country and how at the time, if Black reporters wrote about lynching, they were considered propagandists and they were considered anti-American, and the white reporters were dismissive of it. And I had one young white student very innocently ask, "What are lynchings?" I said, aha, this is a teachable moment. So I found a picture of a man that was hanging from the tree. It was a sanitized version. It was not a charred body, but it was a hanging nonetheless. And I told them, I said, these individuals that are standing around would often mutilate the body and take portions as trophies. And by the next class, I found a picture of a lynching that the NAACP used as an anti-lynching campaign postcard. And the lynching, ironically, occurred in the good old Sunshine State in 1937. And this Black man hanging from the tree was fully clothed. So this was even more sanitized than the first picture. I said, don't focus on the individual. Don't focus on the man. that has lost his life in this heinous fashion. Focus on the family that has gathered to witness this. Look at the children that are watching this. The smallest child, I asked, how old do you think she is? And some of them said about 4 or 5. And I said rhetorically, and what kind of human being do you think she's going to grow up to become? Because there's no way that you can have any empathy for an individual when this becomes your norm. And the truth is, the reason they don't want to teach it is because it could have been their great-great-grandparents that participated in these heinous acts, or their neighbors, their great-grandparents' neighbors that participated in those acts. And it didn't stop just in the 1930s, it continued on. So it could be anyone in their recent memory that participated in the desecration of Black bodies. They need to know this. They need to understand the basis for the rage. So when they witness it, they understand that the people who are incensed have a reason to be so. They also need to have human understanding and empathy, so they recognize when there's a return to certain types of positions and ideologies, they understand it's wrong. Because in Florida, to use the word woke is anti-Black. It's synonymous with anti-Blackness first, and anti-brownness, and anything that would allow an individual to care for someone that does not look like themselves. It's not allowed in my environment, not allowed in my space. I also mentioned I teach general psychology. When we get to the section of the course that deals with social psychology, oh, absolutely. We discuss what's occurring in terms of policies and police brutality. We talk about it. When we focus on the Nuremberg report and the Belmont reports and the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, and we talk about the occurrences that occurred in Nazi Germany, I share with them that the racism in the United States was so perfect, it became the template for how the Nazis treated the Jews, with the Jude armbands and placing them in ghettos and forcing them into conditions that were subhuman. Where did they learn that? In the good old America, KKA. That's where they learned it. And if history is not taught, then everyone will think that it's all roses and daisies. History is not pretty. History is often very ugly for those individuals, especially who've been marginalized, who have been treated as chattel, who have been treated as though they do not exist. It is ugly. It is also necessary to learn this history so that individuals are not allowing themselves to be lulled back into a false sense of comfort while others are rising up to reclaim a power that was stolen. So it is important for you to carry your Black card with you and be bold. When you're in the workplace, don't simply allow yourself to be a hire that checks off their diversity boxes. If you're going to sit there, make your presence known. You need to be more than just a beautiful Black presence, a beautiful Black placeholder. Your voice needs to be heard. Your ideas, you need to be able to stand up when something is wrong, when it is antithetical to your beliefs, when it goes against your people and undermines who they are. Speak up. If you don't have the courage to do that, and if they are not welcoming you to do that in that space, then it's a job that you don't need. It is a job that you can't flourish in because you can't be your authentic self. Bring your Black card with you wherever you go. Make sure your children understand that it is necessary to fortify their spines. Make sure they understand that this colorblind narrative is nonsense. Colorblindness does not benefit anyone. I don't need you to dismiss the color of my skin in order to treat me with dignity. Are you suggesting that if you acknowledge my Blackness, that the characteristics are so loathsome that you can't treat me as a human being? That is preposterous. These young people need to be taught so they can have humanity, so that they can have empathy, so that they can have compassion, and so that they can become anti-racist. anti-racist. They need to be mindful of what is occurring so that they don't fall back into the positions that their parents, their grandparents, their great-great-parents benefited from. Be bold, be Black, be beautiful. Take your Black card everywhere you go. Before I walk out the door, I grab my purse, I grab my keys, I make sure my wallet is in my purse, and I'm always carrying my license. There was an old American Express commercial, American Express, don't leave home without it. Well, guess what? My Black card is all over me. It is highly visible, but my consciousness stays with me. I carry my Black card everywhere I go, and I encourage you to do the same.
Hello, my name is Jayden Aubryn, and I am the founder of Tice Consulting and Therapy, where we promote healing through trauma-informed social equity. So, before we can talk about healing oppression through a trauma-informed revolution, first, we have to understand a little bit about what trauma is. And I like to explain this by talking about Game of Thrones. And if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, think of any medieval set, book, TV show, movie that you've seen. So oftentimes in a show like Game of Thrones, there will be this moment where a young child sneaks in to see a public execution or beheading or something very gruesome. Or alternatively, the parents might bring the child along and say, it's time for you to be a man now. And it's this passage into adulthood to be able to witness human suffering. And the reason why you don't want a small child there is because small children would be very deeply affected by that, right? They would probably have nightmares, overall, just be very unhappy and unable to process such a gruesome sight. But as we get older, we start to develop the ability to rationalize and compartmentalize. So when we see someone getting harmed, we're able to disconnect from that person so we don't feel the full extent of their harm. And that right there is what trauma is. Trauma is the opposite of empathy. Trauma directly impairs our ability to connect with others on an individual and a societal level, right? So if you have been traumatized, you might struggle to connect with a partner or a friend in certain ways, right? But on a large scale, on a societal scale, this can look like whole groups of people or whole nations not being able to care about, connect, empathize with whole other groups of people or whole other nations. And this is not just historical or fiction like Game of Thrones. We see human suffering all throughout human history. We see it every single day. You turn on the news, you go onto social media, and how often are you seeing videos and images of people suffering, truly, truly suffering? And when we really sit with that, we feel it, it's overwhelming. There's such a multitude of emotions that we feel. It's really difficult. So a lot of times we try not to feel. We disconnect just a little bit so that we're not completely destabilized. However, that disconnection just perpetuates the harm of trauma. So what do, right? Well, first we need to talk about the difference between managing and healing trauma and oppression, right? So to just manage trauma, you don't actually need to change your beliefs or the way you engage emotionally much, right? Um, to manage oppressive tendencies or biases. It means you can speak politically correct, not say anything too divisive. You can use the correct pronouns and, you know, check everything off of the I'm a good person checklist. But that doesn't actually mean you care about someone. It doesn't mean that you're able to connect with someone. You do not need to care about anyone to be politically correct, right? To actually heal these deep wounds, you have to learn to care. And learning to care is what a revolution is actually about. Just imagine a world where there was this collective care, where you could give people the benefit of the doubt because most people were not actually trying to harm you because we all didn't have so many experiences of harm, of trusting someone and then being stabbed in the back, because the people who have experienced trauma and hurt are being healed because we have a society that centers healing instead of punishment. Imagine that world. Okay, so how do we get there? How do we not just manage our way through this world, but actually start to heal on a deeper level? I know it seems big. A lot of times when we're talking about oppression, systemic powers, we're very eager to look at the top-down policies. And don't get me wrong, I love a good policy initiative and change, but most work comes from the grassroots perspective. It's healing within, because healing is contagious. And we all know this intuitively. We've all met someone, we've loved their energy. They're just like, wow, you are just so grounded and sure of yourself. You just feel so at ease. You have this amazing energy about you. You know what you want. And just being around you makes me more motivated to go after my goals too. I want to get like that. How do I get like that? I want you in my life. We've all met those people. Healing is contagious. So being able to focus on your healing has a lot more impact than we often give credit for. And there's a reason for that, right? Big guys don't want to empower the little guys, all that kind of stuff. But truly, 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 the power of individual healing cannot be understated. So how do we do this? We're talking about connection. We're talking about empathy. Before you can connect with others, it's so helpful to learn how to connect with yourself and connect with your own body. And that's really hard in general because it takes a lot of skills, but also because we are actively taught to not connect with our bodies. We are taught this from a very, very early age. At 5 years old in the American school system, you are taught to ignore your urge to pee, ignore the fact that you feel hungry, ignore the fact that you don't want to be sitting down all day and you want to run around and move. Ignore everything about your body and just use your frontal lobes to learn. Everything about your body, all the signals, that's unimportant. Only focus on using this one section of your brain to cognitively learn. And then on top of being taught to disconnect from our body and our feelings, we're then taught to judge our feelings. You're not allowed to be angry. You're not allowed to be sad. You're not allowed to be jealous. And oh, you definitely cannot express any of these things. Shoot, you're not even allowed to be happy. You ever had someone be like, what you so happy about? People out here judging their happiness and joy. We are taught to disconnect and judge our feelings. So it's no wonder that we're having trouble connecting with our body and building a relationship with our body. But if you can build a relationship with your body, You can build a relationship with anyone. In this type of healing, it doesn't need to be scary. We actually very intuitively know how to do this. Western science, for a few hundred years, thought that our intuitive healing methods were inferior. Now, Western science is, starting to validate our intuitive methods, but a lot of this is music, food, movement. We all know music can be so healing, can take you to many different worlds. Eating, actually eat. All this work, all this emotional stuff, this is all brain and nervous system, which is fueled by carbs, right? Move your body. You're feeling anxious, you're feeling jittery, get up and move. Actually move. Get that energy out. Build a relationship with your body. Listen to what it's saying to you and talk back. And if you can build a relationship with your body, you really can build a relationship with anyone. And it's through relationships that we gain empathy, heal trauma, combat oppression, and bring forth a revolution. Thank you so much.
Are you ready to share your message with the world? Introducing PitchDB, the all-in-one platform revolutionizing the way speakers connect with podcasts, conferences, and media outlets. With access to over 3 million platforms, finding your perfect speaking opportunity has never been easier. Our AI integrations create personalized bios and pitches, setting you apart from the crowd. Join the movement of speakers taking the world stage today. Join now at pitchdb.com.
Walking power plants. The power is in our hands. From our feet to our power strands, the crown and glory. Do you know it? I'm so happy and so excited to be part of BSN's Black History Month. My name is Jenise, Aubryn. I go by Jenlo Assassin. I am the founder of Second Chance 21013, changing lives one testimony at a time, because it's not a testimony if left untold. I am an author, actress, health and wellness coach, among other things. I am a creative above all things, creating opportunities in new ways. And so I'm so excited to talk to you today about power strands. Yes, the crown and the glory. Out of the wombs of Africa come our culture, our heritage, our traits, our characteristics, so many things about ourselves we have no idea where we got it from, right? It's like a child and parents. Oh, you're just like your dad. When somebody says you're just like your dad, you're just like your father, you're just like your grandmother, your auntie. Well, who were they? Do you know? And then you see pictures of them from back in the day. Oh, wow. Maybe you see your hair. Oh, wow. Because maybe no one in between had kinky hair like you. Because out of the wombs of Africa comes every skin color, eye color, and hair texture. Right? So when genes skip down, it widens our curiosity. Well, where did that come from? Who am I? Those are the questions that we ask as we start to get older and we start to wonder more about who we are. We start the self-discovery process. As a teen and adolescent, you start to find out, okay, wait, I kind of like this thing, I kind of like that thing, or I like my hair that way, I like to dress this way. Do you know the truth of you? There's so much power in your truth. Natural. The word natural means existing or caused by nature. In the Black community, African American, I've never set foot on Africa land yet, But I know that out of the womb of Africa come my ancestors. I know that my skin, the things that I like, my interest, my curiosity, come from my ancestors, and they come from Africa. So I therefore am African American. Well, I want to find out those things because, again, they contribute to who I am. They contribute to who you are. They contribute to how we interact with each other, how we understand and communicate with each other. You know, afros in Africa, oh gosh, so long ago, before BC, before Christ. Afros were used as a form of hierarchy and showing your rank in your community. And I found that to be so amazing. And then I find out that cornrows or cane rows were used by our ancestors. Unfortunately, that they had to use that as a way to communicate routes of escape and use it to put rice in their hair so that they wouldn't starve, things of that nature. That's important to know. Why is it important to know? Because it shows perseverance. It shows that they were determined. It shows they had a power and a will. The crown and glory. You know, in the Bible, if you know the story of Samson and Delilah, the power was in Samson's hair, which had never been cut. That was God's way of giving him his power. And once his hair was cut, he was drained of it. Our crowns are our coverings. Have you ever seen a king or a queen let everyone touch their crowns? It's so important, energy transfer, that we are selective also in something as simple as who we let touch our crowns, aka do our hair. And I find that our people are unfortunately still passing down trauma through hair, through things that were taught through our ancestors as a way to hold them back and to take their power. When I see videos of parents cutting off their children's locks, their hair, as a form of punishment, and I see them crying, and it's a traumatic experience, and I say, do they know the power of the strands that they are cutting off? The relationship, that's a whole relationship, not only with the parents, but with God. If we look at it from a biblical view, locks, they say, of the Lion of Judah, means triumph over pain, over sin, over suffering, over fear, over death, even over the devil himself. When you look good, you feel good. Your posture changes. Our features are so distinct. Wide nose, wide hips, plump lips, afros, kinky hair, wavy hair, braids, cornrows. They're distinct traits for us. And while admired, shown beautiful, featured, they have been used as a way to say that we are not in alignment with the world. But we have our own world. We have our own culture. We have our own language. We have our own everything. We are resilient. We have survived. We use our hair to celebrate life. And so I implore to you on this day to take back your power. Take hold of your power strands. Power up, suit up your armor, Your covering is more than just an adornment. It is a covering. It is your crown. And with our young people, nurture and encourage them to wear the hair that God blessed them to have coming right out of their scalp. It is important with our youth for them to appreciate their God-given features. There's nothing wrong with you. You are perfectly imperfect. And the imperfection only means that we only improve and age gracefully like a fine wine. Just getting better with time. So I just want to say, out of the womb of Africa, you are. Find out who you are. Find out your roots, your family, where you come from. Protect your crown. Don't let everybody touch your hair. Okay, protect it. Okay, they can admire with the eyes. And just feature you. Do things that accentuate your features, that pop. You are a star. You are powerful. You are awesome. You are wonderful. So that is me, Jenlo. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, or any social media at Jenlo Assassin. My website is Jenlo Inspires. It is so important to show our youth positive reinforcement when disciplining. Through the cutting of the hair or putting down their natural born features is not the way. And I stress that as a young girl, my features were talked about. And sometimes even today. And a lot of time it comes from our own people handing down trauma. We must stop handing down the trauma and uplift what is naturally us. There is power in knowing who we are. Our crown is important. Whether you have locks, dreads, cornrows, whatever the case may be, braids, whatever the case may be, even if you straighten and flat iron your hair, whatever the case may be, it's still yours. Whatever makes you feel good is yours. So pass that along, pass it down, pass it up, and compliment somebody on their power strands.
Hi there, my name is Leona Carter. I am a corporate communication strategist, a speaker, and an author. And today I want to share with you the topic called Framed Black. Now, this particular topic is from my documentary that I recently produced called Framed Black, really talking about navigating the assumptions made in Black America. And so, just as I kind of dived into my film, there are assumptions made simply because of the color of your skin, right? As a Black professional. And so when we're talking about framed Black, it's that mindset of you're already framed Black. You're already looked through the eyes of the color of your skin, and therefore there are assumptions already being made about you before you even open your mouth. And I really tell you that just so you'll understand when we kind of dive into our topic today about Frame Black. Today, we're going to be talking about unlocking 3 strategies for Black professionals, spotlighting Black excellence in a world that already has you framed Black. So let's talk about what these 3 strategies are. It's so important that as we continue to have the conversation at the table about race, we keep in mind these 3 strategies. All right, let's dive in. Number 1, visibility and representation. As a Black professional operating in Black excellence, it's really important to find visibility opportunities and find representation opportunities. So what does that look like? So in your industry, as a Black professional, find opportunities that you can increase your visibility, whether that's speaking engagements in your industry, joining panels in your industry, being a part of the editing team for your newsletter in your industry. What opportunities are available for you to increase your visibility and provide representation for your community in your industry? So very important. So look for those opportunities. You might not have thought like, you know what, I could really speak on that panel, about my area of expertise, right? And so look for those opportunities. It's so needed because representation matters. Number 2, when we're thinking about operating in excellence as a Black professional, it's important to lead by example. Lead by example. And so find ways to lead and excel in your industry, in your field. Find growth opportunities, right? Is your organization, training and facilitating opportunities so that you can just enhance your area of expertise right in the industry you already are, right? Serve as a role model by leading and being an example to other future generations of Black professionals striving for excellence. And so leading by example is crucial. And you'd be surprised. I remember before starting my business being a part of an organization, and that organization, every month there were different learning opportunities, of course, paid and funded by the organization. And I knew within the next 6 months, I was resigning to start my business, right? And so I took advantage of every growth opportunity that was provided to me as a professional so that I can increase my skills as a Black professional. And so look for those opportunities to really excel in your area of expertise, and you're going to be leading by example by doing that. So keep that in mind. And then number 3, there's so many, but we only have time for 3. But number 3 is seek mentorship. Now, this is a duality, right? So it's important as a Black professional to be part of a group so that you have a great example of a Black professional who is your mentor, right? At the same time, look for opportunities where you are a mentor. So you have a mentor and you are a mentor, right? So that you can be a Black professional mentor to others to help them navigate through challenges and seize opportunities. So that's how you continue to build that legacy of Black professionals operating in excellence. You have a mentor that you're learning from, and simultaneously you are a mentor to up and coming Black professionals. And so thank you so much for allowing me to share. And just as a recap, we're talking about the 3 strategies to unlock for Black professionals, spotlighting Black excellence in a world that already has you framed black, right? And so increasing visibility and representation, that was number 1. Number 2 is leading by example, right? And then number 3 was seeking mentorship. And so again, thank you for allowing me to share. Again, my name is Leona Carter, and you can learn more about me at heycoachcarter.com. Bye for now.
Like so many women in corporate spaces, when I was working in corporate, I did not feel like I belonged there either. I tried to assimilate by mimicking the lingo, laughing at the dry jokes, and basically being a shell of myself so that I wouldn't offend anyone. I started my business, but funny enough, you would think because it was mine that I would be able to show up fully. Nope. I brought that same mentality to my business because I was selling to corporate leaders and executives. And so I thought I had to use big words. I thought I had to be prim and proper. I thought I had to speak like them for them to trust me and give me their money. But over time, child, it was hard to keep up that facade. And my personality just had to peek through. It's too big. Funny enough, these same clients actually embraced my personality. They found me endearing. They found me funny. I was relatable. And it turns out that me showing my true self was my secret sauce. I brought my culture. I brought my mannerisms. I brought my sass. And none of it took away from the value that I also brought. I'm Melanie L. Denny, personal branding consultant for brilliant women of color looking to build their visibility, authority, and thought leadership without sacrificing authenticity. Here's the thing, right? We all have similar stories. If you're a Black woman listening to this right now, I'm sure you have experienced something like you can't progress, you can't get promoted, your voice isn't being heard, you're seen as aggressive, your hair is offensive, you get paid less for higher quality work, your ideas are stolen. As a result, you mold yourselves into thinking, if I just act like how I think they want me to act, maybe I can finally progress in my career. Because we all want a career, we all want to grow, we all want to elevate, but at what cost? How long are we going to continue to sacrifice who we are, to dim our lights, pick away at the essence of our being? Listen, as we continue to go through these companies and continue to code switch and try to assimilate, there's no way we can possibly climb to the heights that we were meant to reach. You know why? Because we're so focused on the facade that we're not focused on the work. Our credibility becomes questionable because people can kind of see something's a little bit off here, right? People can smell when you're not being real. Then we start to feel a sense of discomfort in our own skin. Then we feel disconnected from the work, from the team, from the company. We lose our identity in the process. We start blending in with everybody else, and then we lose our edge, we lose our creativity. We start feeling inadequate, right? Because clearly you're not enough to show up as you are. That leads to unhappiness, that leads to depression, and that leads to burnout. I don't want that for you. If you're resonating with this message and you are a Black woman, I'm here to tell you right now, this is no way to live, my love. It's time for us to teach the world how to treat us. Because our authenticity is valuable. If you're a Black woman listening to this right now, you probably have so much rich experiences that you're going to bring to that table that no one else can bring. You have a different perspective as a result of those lived experiences. You probably have endured some level of adversity, and now you have a sense of resilience. You probably have a degree or 2 or 3, 6 certifications, 10 trainings. You're very educated, I bet. You're probably very creative. You're probably so resourceful. And you are so aware of the cultural differences and nuances that impact businesses. This is all you. And so when we show up as our authentic selves, we show up way more powerfully. We show up with way more confidence. We have an empowered presence. We inspire other people who look like us to also show up more confidently and more powerfully and be who they are. We force others to accept or reject who we are. There's no game. We attract those who resonate with us. We build deeper connections with our team members, with our colleagues. We build trust among those who are depending on us. We uniquely position ourselves for new opportunities. We get to control our own narrative. We bring a different perspective, y'all. And that perspective fosters innovation. So, I challenge you right now, take off the mask. Take it off. Be who you are. And if you take the mask off and you start moving in your flow, in your essence, and you realize that your environment is stifling you, trying to silence you, or trying to mute you, do not end up like our dear sister, Miss Antoinette Candia Bailey from Lincoln University, who recently took her own life. Please, we need you. Save yourself. Nobody is coming to save us, y'all. Not a DEI initiative, not a protest, not a unconscious bias training. We are on our own. We have been on our own. And here's the thing, there's no shortage of opportunities out there. You do not have to be forever grateful for the opportunity that you have. You are qualified. There are companies that will embrace you. Consider this. We, Black women, are starting businesses faster than any other demographic. There's a seat for you somewhere. There's a seat for you somewhere. So if you can't be who you are, where you are, change where you are, not who you are. Because embracing the full essence of who you are is the only way for us to reach our fullest potential. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paula R. Jenkins, and I am the founder and CEO of LFS Consulting LLC, where we believe true leaders create more leaders. Today, I want to talk about action speaks louder, crafting equity and allyship in every step. Here's the thing. Every action we take, every voice we uplift can lead to a more equitable society. Our journey towards equity starts with ourselves. And as we grow as allies, we expand the horizons of what's possible, building a world that thrives on diversity and inclusion. So here's the thing. I know we hear the words equity, allyship, but what does it really mean? So here's the thing. The definition of equity is, at its core, it is defined as the quality of being fair and impartial. Allyship means active support for the rights of a minority or marginalized group without being a member of it. Now, here's the thing. I can show you better than I can tell you. And so what I want to do is show you a picture that I think speaks volumes about what equity is. I love this picture where we look at reality, equality, and equity. Look at the equity box and see the difference between the three. In the last screen, you see it says justice. Yeah, justice. Here's the thing. We clearly have to have justice, right? We know that. But what I want you to understand is that equity piece, we have to start somewhere. When people start off in that reality section, clearly we're not going to have any kind of equity. And so as allies, we want to make sure that we are speaking the truth about what it is. Now, here's the thing. Why is it crucial in today's society, especially in professional environments? For many reasons. We have to have diverse perspectives because they drive innovation. There have been studies that have clearly stated by having various perspectives, your innovation and your revenue goes up. It enhances employee engagement and productivity. Here's the thing. When employees feel seen, heard, and valued, let me be clear, their engagement and productivity soar. So equity and allyship create an environment where everybody can contribute to their fullest potential. And that will foster a culture of mutual respect and collaboration. Another item is reflecting and serving a diverse customer base. Think about who you serve on a daily basis. Let's be clear, it's probably a very diverse group. The other important piece of when we talk about equity and allyship is our image and what we are actually promoting. Are we promoting that this is important? And let's not forget the legal and ethical considerations. You all, there are laws to this, right? And we want to make sure that we are acting in a way that is ethical for everyone. At the end of the day, let's just talk about long-term sustainability and success. When we stress that equity and allyship is important in our environments, it's not just about these immediate benefits. It's actually essential for long-term sustainability and success of your organization. Please understand that. So where do you fall in this? Each one of us has the absolute important task of doing small actions because those can lead to significant change. I know for me, one of the things that I have seen over the years is how people step in. And when they talk about, hey, that's not right. When they step in and say, why are we doing that? When we recognize we're hearing all the same voices, we look around the table and say, we don't see anybody who looks like, again, our customer base. That's one small action can make a difference. We talk about how our roles can do something different. So here's the thing. You have to speak up for inclusivity. If you don't, who is? And I know a lot of times we say, that's not my problem. But here's the problem with that. It is our problem. The power of our voices is critical in creating inclusive spaces. One of the things I want you to do is when you think about it, or you see something, right? You see something wrong, speak up. If you don't know what to say, start with your manager or start with the person who's being impacted and asking how you can help. But be intentional about your actions. Don't make this a personal agenda. So that's the first thing, speaking up for inclusivity. Second one, kindness. Use kindness in leadership. And I know when I say to people like, oh, I know we got to be kind. Yes, be kind. It goes a long way. It really does. Sometimes I think we think that when we hear that word, it means we have to appeal to people and not do the right thing. No, I can tell you, kindness can be transformative in leadership. And I think too often we think we have to put on some kind of, masked face and not be who we are. Kindness is powerful. What it also can lead to is helping you practice empathy and understanding that in your daily interactions with people. When you start understanding what somebody is going through, believe me, you're going to be kinder. I think sometimes we get caught up in all the things that are happening. But if we're going to talk about being real equitable in our environments and allyship, I want you to start with that kindness piece. The third is create a positive space. You have to make sure that you are offering guidance on understanding what your environment looks like. If you start recognizing that your environment is not inclusive, you got to take action. We can't just sit here and say, oh, I know we aren't doing the right thing. It just is what it is. No, make sure that you are fostering a positive change in the spaces that you are in. And I'm not even saying it's always easy. What I am saying is, if we're going to talk about real equity and real allyship, we have to make sure that we're having the conversation and look around. Again, go back to number one, speaking up. So here's the thing. I want you to, number one, again, speak up for inclusivity. It is important that, again, if you see something wrong, you got to say something. Number two, use kindness in leadership. There have been many times over the years that I have been told how kind I am because of what somebody was going through, or my empathy was shown because I listened. It goes a long way, and it shows that you care. And then number three, create the positive space. You have to make sure that if you are looking at an environment that clearly, like the image that we saw, is not providing an equitable space or environment, you got to make sure you create it. And yes, one person can make a change. We all have to make sure that, again, individually, we are doing something ourselves that's going to impact the world. And the only way we can do that is by making sure that we are speaking up, we're being kind, and we are creating the right space. So at the end of the day, I want you not to just represent who you are, but I want you to act an ally for real change. That is how we get to the space of crafting real equity and allyship in every single step we make. If you want more from me, you want to hear from me, please reach out. I am on social media. The best platform for me is LinkedIn, and you can use the QR code that's on the screen right now to find and connect with me. I thank you. Again, go out there and be the person that can craft equity and allyship in everything you do. You can visit me at my website, www.lfsconsult.com.
Meet PitchDB, the ultimate platform for speakers looking to make their mark on podcasts, conferences, and media outlets. PitchDB provides access to over 3 million platforms, ensuring you find the perfect avenue for your message. With AI integrations, your bios and pitches are tailored uniquely to each opportunity, giving you the edge you need. Join now at pitchdb.com.
Hello and welcome to Unity in Action, 3 steps to becoming an ally and advocate for racial equity. My name is Quisha Umemba. I am a registered nurse, a public health practitioner, and a social entrepreneur. I'm the CEO of Umemba Health, QU Consulting, and the co-founder for a 501c3 nonprofit called Diversity in Diabetes. In this presentation, I am hopefully going to share some nuggets with you that will help you become an effective ally and advocate for racial equity. I only have a short amount of time with you today, so let's just go ahead and get into the content. 3 steps to becoming an advocate. First, what is an advocate? An advocate is an individual who actively supports and speaks out on behalf of a cause, a group, or an individual with the aim of promoting positive change, justice, and fairness. And when we talk about advocacy, that involves using your voice, your influence, your platform, your actions to bring attention to issues, to challenge inequities and policies, and work toward solutions. Are you an advocate? You might be. If you're not an advocate, here are 3 easy ways that you can become an advocate for racial equity. The first is to exercise self-awareness. Yes, take a good, long, hard look in the mirror. Self-awareness requires you to be honest about your biases, because we all have biases. They're either going to be explicit, kind of out there and in your face, or implicit. And these are the ones that really make racial inequities prominent. Implicit bias is the attitude or the stereotype that you may possess that affects your understanding, your actions, and your day-to-day decisions in an unconscious manner. They really do interact with or interfere with how you communicate with others. And so every life experience, early life experience as a child, things you watch in the media or on the news, even your social circle, can contribute to your beliefs and attitudes about other people. As much as I love to get into it, I'm not going to, but just take a good, long, hard look in the mirror and ask yourself some of these questions. Do my biases influence how I communicate with others? Do my biases hinder my capacity to feel and express empathy toward others? Do my biases interfere with my capacity to interact with others, especially others of the opposite race or different ethnicities? If so, you may want to check your biases at the door. Number 2, be honest about other people's experiences. This is big. We've got to validate people's experiences. And so if you are going to be complacent when it comes to issues that predominantly people of color will complain about or voice their opinions or their experiences on, that really actually makes you racist by complacency. It's called racism complacency, where you support racism and racist systems by not challenging those. There's also racism complicity, which means to be consciously or unconsciously supportive, contributing, or benefiting from racism or racist systems. And what I have found predominantly in people, I'll just say the majority, right? White people, that's what we call the majority. A lot of times you don't think that you're racist, you're not complacent, but you're certainly complicit. The last thing that you can do to start becoming an advocate is to challenge the status quo and ask why others' experiences are different from yours. Oftentimes, implicit bias can make us insensitive to cultural differences. A lot of times we'll ask questions, well, why do they have those strange, funny names? And why does their name have all those extra letters, right? And so we think if it's not the way we would do it or the way that our culture would do it, that it's wrong. Start asking and actually celebrating, honoring, being curious about the experiences of others. All right, now let's jump into 3 steps to becoming an ally. First, what is an ally? An ally is an individual who actively supports, advocates for, and stands in solidarity with marginalized or underrepresented groups. Allies work toward creating a more inclusive and equitable environment by acknowledging, here we go, acknowledging, we just talked about that with advocacy, and then challenging systemic barriers and discrimination, okay? So when you're an ally, you take an active role in your advocacy. You take it up a notch. It's about leveraging your privilege. It's about leveraging your influence. It's about uplifting and supporting those who face systemic challenges and barriers, and being ultimately a voice for the voiceless. And maybe they're not voiceless, but they don't have the power, the privilege, or the influence that you have. And so you help them to elevate their voice through your allyship. So here are 3 steps to becoming an ally. 1, simple, see color. See color. C color means you acknowledge that the other person may be a different race, a different ethnicity, they have different cultural nuances, different backgrounds, different experiences, and all of those other things. A lot of times you'll hear people say, "Oh, I don't see color. Oh, I have a Black friend. Oh, I have a Hispanic friend," or, this, that, or the other. But the problem is, if you don't see my color, then you don't acknowledge who I am and all that comes with me. So the first step is to see color. Secondly, talk about race. Talk about race. Don't shy away from it. But remember, it's the way you talk about race that matters. Talking about race is what's going to help us advance racial equity. Talk about the dangers of generalizations and stereotypes and the importance of seeing people of color as individuals, not as groups. If one person in the Black community does something, that doesn't mean that applies to everybody in the Black community. So talk about race, see color, and acknowledge those differences. And third, don't just be an ally, be an accomplice. Okay, you know what an accomplice is, right? An accomplice is somebody that's a helper. Accomplice is somebody that's going to get in the trenches with you, that is going to do the dirty work with you at times. So you have to deliberately and intentionally place yourself in a position of support when you are working as an accomplice, not as in a position of savior. And that's for allyship in general, because sometimes allies will take on this kind of godlike savior complex. That's not what you're doing as an ally. You're simply putting yourself in a position of support, recognizing the power that you have to help amplify the voices of the unheard, especially if you're a member of the majority or white population. Okay, so those are your 3 steps to becoming an ally. See color, talk about race, and don't just be an ally, be an accomplice. So I've shared 3 steps to becoming an advocate with you today, 3 steps for becoming an ally with you today. And I just want to remind you that advocacy and allyship are powerful forces for change that can contribute, if used appropriately, for the betterment of communities and the advancement of social justice. If you are striving to make an impact on society by addressing issues, by raising awareness, by working towards tangible solutions when it comes to racial equity and racial equality, I implore you, become an advocate, become an ally, become an accomplice.
Hello, my name is Shar Albritton. I'm an author, speaker, and the CEO of Quashar Detroit Publishing. First of all, I'd like to thank the Black Speakers Network for the opportunity to speak in your Black History Speaker Series. Today, the title of my talk is Achieve Equity Through Action and Allyship in 5 Simple Steps. The reason I want to have this conversation is I think it's essential to have an equitable work environment. And when there's an equitable work environment, employees are able to thrive and achieve greatness. Therefore, achieving greatness will mean that the company will be successful in its endeavors. So the first step to achieve equity through action and allyship is to reassess your current diversity, equity, and inclusion program. Now, can I ask you a question? When was the last time that you took the time to update your diversity, equity, inclusion program? Has it been some time? You need to annually update this program because there are so many changes that are going on in the world, and you want to make sure that you're addressing all the needs of your current workforce. And since things change, people change, you want to make sure that you have the most updated program that's going to lend a hand to those that are in need within your corporation through your diverse programs and initiatives for the underrepresented community. So again, the first step is to assess your current program. Maybe you need to do a needs assessment to see where the gaps are. And when you find those gaps, create programs that will meet the needs of your workforce. The second step to achieve equity through action and allyship is to practice what you preach. If you have an equity and inclusion program and you state that it's reflected throughout your organization, it should be evident. What does your executive work team look like? Is it of people from diverse backgrounds, or do they all look the same? Keep in mind that your executive leadership team should represent your workforce. However your workforce looks like, then you should include that in your executive team. The third step to achieve diversity through action and allyship is to make sure that organizations implement equity initiatives that align with your corporate goals. Equity should be reflected in all practices, including hiring, career opportunities, compensation practices, community endeavors, personal development for employees, and mentorship opportunities. Diversity should be reflected through all of those different practices within your organization. The fourth step to achieve equity through action and allyship is that the leadership must extend allyship and use their influence and support for employees that don't belong to their same social identity groups as themselves. Leadership must advocate for the workforce, challenge biases, amplify marginalized voices, and contribute to a more equitable work environment. If you in leadership see that something is not right, don't just ignore it, address it. It may take days and months to address these concerns, but don't be afraid. Address these concerns. And when you address these concerns, you make your employees feel like they're valued. And when an employee is valued, the employee will be more productive, which will lead to an increase in your bottom line. And then the fifth step to achieve equity through action and allyship is to celebrate the differences of your workforce. Take time to get to know different individuals within your workforce that are different from you. Take time to have conversations and take those conversations back to management and be able to update different initiatives that you have for the workforce. So again, I want to just review those 5 steps to achieve equity through action and allyship. Number 1, reassess your current diversity, equity, and inclusion program. Update it annually so that you can meet the needs of your workforce. Number 2, practice what you teach and what you preach. So if you're talking about this is important to you, it will be reflected in every practice within your organization. It will be reflected in the hiring practices. It will be reflected in different initiatives that you have. Make sure that you are practicing what you preach. Step number 3, organizations must implement equity initiatives that align with their corporate goals. Number 4, leadership must extend allyship and use their influence to support employees that don't belong to the same social identity as themselves. So reach out to someone that is in a different ethnic group or a different background that's different from you and get to know them. Number 5, celebrate the differences of your workforce and create programs that will encourage them to achieve greatness at every stage. Again, this is Shar Halliburton. I appreciate the time that you took to listen to my talk today. Achieve equity through action and allyship in 5 simple steps. Please connect with me on social media by going to QD Publishing. So it's Q like Queen, D like Detroit Publishing, Quishar Detroit Publishing. Again, QD Publishing. Thanks so much for listening, and here's to your success.
Greetings, and thank you for joining me today as we celebrate the rich heritage of our culture. I am truly honored to come before this incredible body of individuals that share a common goal of impacting and shaping the lives of our most valuable assets, our children. You may be wondering, okay, who was this speaker and why should I listen to what she has to say? Well, let me share why you should. I am Dr. Sherry Pugh from Central Florida, home of the world's most famous mouse, Mickey Mouse. I bring nearly 25 years of experience as an educator with certifications in exceptional student education, educational leadership, and school principal. For the past 7 years, I have served as a school administrator at the middle school level. I am active in my local community where volunteering to help other people excel is a part of our objective of my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. My genuine love of children, especially those that's critical middle school range, led me to start Precious Pearls, a mentoring group for middle school girls that focuses on self-esteem, community service, leadership development, and academic excellence. In October, I completed a goal that I set for myself several years ago. I became a published author of my first book entitled Boss Up and Raise Your Boys, a practical guide to raising productive young men. These are just but a snapshot of my credentials and expertise. As a mother of 2 amazing sons, helping mothers, teachers, mentors, and all who understand the importance of helping our boys be their best is something I take personal pride in. We can't let society or the system dictate who they are, nor who they will become. We must take charge and write the narrative as we dedicate our lives to shaping the future of every Black boy so that they become the remarkable young men they were destined to be. Today, I want to share some nuggets you can use to help inspire and guide our boys. Now let's delve into a topic that combines the power of mentorship, education, and a sprinkle of humor, because laughter is the bond that connects us all. Are you ready? Let's dive into the playbook for raising our young kings. The play is called CARE. C-A-R-E. C, cultivate connections. As educators, we are in the business of building connections. It's like creating a winning football team where every player knows their role and trusts their teammates. Did you know that students who feel connected to their teachers are more likely to thrive academically. It's a winning strategy. Amplify ambitions. Picture this. We are the coaches, and our students are the star players with ambitions ready to be amplified. Like a football coach inspiring their team before a big game, our encouragement can be a game changer. Did you know that students who have goals and ambitions are more likely to stay focused and engaged in their education? An example of this practice in action involved my youngest son when he ran track. He was running the 800 meter, which is 2 laps around the track. As I stood in the stands, I could hear this loud sound of someone wailing. Little did I know, as the runner made the turn around the track, it was my son. In between laughter, I kicked Coach Mom into gear and encouraged my son to the finish his race. In that moment, nothing else mattered than for me to be there for him. I cheered him on to the finish line. It didn't matter that he came in second to last. The point that I taught him was it may get hard at times, but I would be the cheerleader he needed, and that he would work hard to finish what he started. He never ran track again, but on that hot day in Texas, he didn't quit. The R, reinforced resilience. Life, much like football, is a contact sport. Our boys need resilience to tackle challenges head on. Think of it as the halftime pep talk, reminding them that setbacks are just setups for comebacks. Did you know that resilient students are better equipped to navigate the ups and downs of their academic journey? Every day will not be sunny. They will be challenged, targeted, questioned, and often overlooked. But if they have that foundation of excellence and resiliency instilled in them, they will know that none of that matters, because they have what it takes to overcome anything designed to set them off their course of productivity. E, embrace empathy. Empathy is the secret sauce in our coaching arsenal. It's understanding the individual struggles and triumphs of each player on our team. Did you know that teachers who show empathy create a positive classroom environment, leading to better student outcomes? If our boys feel valued and respected in a vibrant, positive classroom where a skilled teacher is leading the classroom, the sky is the limit to what they will achieve. Now, let's explore the parallels between parenting, coaching, and the football field. We are the coaches shaping future all-stars. Ever tried explaining the complexities of quantum physics to a teenager? It's like coaching a quarterback through a trick play. It requires strategy, precision, and a dash of creativity. As educators, we are not just imparting knowledge, we are instilling life skills that go beyond the classroom. It's about preparing our young boys for the ultimate game, the game of life. As I come to a close, let's make a commitment to care, cultivate connections, amplify ambitions, reinforce resilience, and embrace empathy. These strategies that I call nuggets are not just anecdotal, they are backed by research and data, showing that a caring and supportive educational environment leads to success for our Black boys. Are you ready to take this playbook and call the winning touchdown? I believe you are. I believe our boys are. I believe we are. Thank you, and may your journey as educators be filled with meaningful connections, amplified ambitions, reinforced resilience, and an abundance of empathy. Together, we are shaping a future where every Black boy can thrive and excel because they know we care. Again, I am Dr. Sherry Pugh. Please follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn at Dr. Sherry Pugh. On Instagram and X, known as Twitter, at Dainty Zeta. My book, Boss Up and Raise Your Boys, can be found on Amazon. Thank you so much for your time and enjoy your day.
Hello, my name is Trina Ramsey, and I'm the CEO of the Just Do You Institute for Women's Empowerment. I'm so excited to be here as part of this Black History Month speaker series. So thank you for taking the time to take a look at my talk. Today I'm going to talk about success on our terms, overcoming the myth of the Black superhero. So let me ask you a question. Do you have a favorite superhero? I know for me, I just have been in love with the idea of superheroes since I was a kid. I was this nerdy girl with my head in a book, and I loved action movies. I still do. I love all of the Marvel series. I definitely was really amazed by Storm in the X-Men. And of course, when Black Panther and Wakanda Forever came out, it just upped the game tremendously. It's so fun. And as someone who grew up with a pretty traumatic life, I actually found that to be an escape and also a survival mechanism. And so I know that I'm not the only one. And I wanted just to connect the dots between the history that we have experienced and the shoulders that we stand on in terms of our ancestors, and sometimes us actually going too far and harming ourselves because we're trying to be all things to all people. So as I grew up, I ended up losing my mom to suicide when I was 14, and my younger sisters were only 7. We were already growing up in poverty, and it really took our extended family to swoop in and really take care of us and set us up for success. And that's what they did. I was able to go to a great high school, to attend an amazing college, and to graduate. And I have been just, racking up success after success. And in a couple cases, I, shattered a glass ceiling in my workplace. And all of those things kind of built in me just this idea that success was the final goal, no matter what. And so I know that we have all learned these things that are not necessarily good for us, but have definitely been proven. We have a litany of amazing history makers, people whose shoulders we stand on, who have garnered amazing success in film, literature, business. We have billionaires. We have people who own sports teams, not just being the athletes. These are amazing people who are a wonderful idea of success for us. We also have learned things like you have to be twice as good, you have to work twice as hard, you have to get there early and stay late. You're only as good as your last success. You've got to keep that good job no matter what, even if it's killing you inside, even if you're so stressed that your eye starts twitching and that you can't get through the day without having some type of anger or crying response, or perhaps having sleepless nights. So over time, I finally got the message. And it was partially due to an amazing mentor who really called me out. And she said, Trina, you do know that Superwoman is a fictional character, right? And I was like, oh, right. You're right. And so I was actually trying to live up to something that was not realistic at all, because the truth of the matter is there's only so many hours in a day. And so what she was saying to me is, it's time for you to tap into your humanity. It's time for you to get vulnerable and recognize your own limitations, because you cannot do it all, and it's not sustainable for you to try to do it all. And I was also definitely, when a family member had challenges, I'd, go, okay, it's time to put that cape on. And I go rush in to save people. And they didn't even ask me to. I was just like, but you need to be saved, right? I'm here. Here I am to save the day. I know I'm not the only one. We were built like this. We were actually really taught that our worth is based on what we produce in the world. We were taught to overcome the challenges and to have success at all costs. And also, we were taught as Black people in America, this country was built literally on our backs, right? It was literally built with our blood, sweat, and tears. And so we were taught that our bodies are expendable and they are meant for work, they are meant to produce. And those types of things are happening today. Of course, it's not slavery, but sometimes we are in bondage to our jobs, to our own businesses. And it's really time to just put a stop to it all. You can have success on your own terms. You can certainly grind. There's a place for grind, and there's a time for just digging in and doing what you need to be done. But at the end of the day, it's not sustainable. So you have those periods of grind, but then you got to have those periods of rest. You've got to have time to be with your family, to take those vacations without taking your laptop with you, without feeling like you have to take meetings from the poolside or go into your hotel room while your family's out having a good time and you're missing the vacation. And actually that builds up resentment with your family because you are not present. You are missing your life. This is not what the ancestors intended for us, right? Sometimes, even if you're your own boss, you can become a horrible boss to yourself. I know this because I did it for years, especially as I was growing my coaching business on the side while I was climbing the ladder in nonprofit. I made it to the C-suite. And so I would have my day job. I would get up early to write. I've written a best-selling book and I've contributed to several others. I was just grind. Don't worry, I can sleep when I'm dead. It's not sustainable. It's time to let it go. It's time to choose yourself. Our ancestors sacrificed so much for us to be where we are, and they don't want us to die early because we're having health issues or we had a heart attack on the job. I actually ended up walking away from a position that where I was making over 6 figures. I ended up going to the hospital with chest pains. Thank God I'm fine, but it really was a wake-up call. And sometimes God just is like, he's tapping, and he's like, you're not listening, so let me just give you a little bit more of a push or kick you in your butt because you're not listening to me. And so that's what it took for me to realize that what I was trying to do wasn't working. And the salary that I was making was not worth it. And this dream that I had been putting on hold off to the side was worth me spending more time and energy. So I'm just so grateful to have had that wake-up call. And I created the Just Do You Institute for Women's Empowerment because I do believe that we all have what it takes inside to really create our own what's next, to listen to that still small voice that's inside. And it's worth it. We don't have to chase success for the sake of success. We don't have to go save the world. There are plenty of people who can help to shoulder the responsibilities that sometimes we take on without even being asked to. So if this message resonated with you at all, I really encourage you to take a look at where you can make a shift in your life. And sometimes it can be a little edit, like stopping to do this thing or creating more boundaries around your work life, around your personal time. Sometimes it needs to be a complete redesign. Sometimes you really need to take a look at everything and start over. So thank you for taking the time. We are the Black history makers of tomorrow, and we get to define it in our own terms. And I'm just so grateful for that opportunity. My name is Trina Ramsey. My website's justdoyouinstitute.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at mycoachtrina, same thing for Twitter. And I'm also on LinkedIn and YouTube, of course. You can get a free download of a career decisions toolkit on my website, justdoyouinstitute.com. Many blessings to you. God bless you.